had no idea what I was doing. I don't like the spotlight. Why I ever thought I wanted to own my own business and be in management and run a business, I don't know where that came from because that's really not who I think I am. It really just happened, and I'm a therapist. So I did a lot of things wrong and I fell on my face many, many times. Just when I thought that maybe I made it, I would fall again. So yeah, if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Thank you for joining us this week on S.H.E. If you've enjoyed what you're hearing, you can subscribe to the show so you'll never miss a thing. And while you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating and review. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. Be sure to tune in next week for our next episode. And in the meantime, go shine your light and be seen, be heard, and be empowered. Welcome to the S.H.E podcast. Be seen, be heard, be empowered. I'm your host, Heidi Schock, and I'm excited for my conversation with my guest today. It's going to be some fun. She was on the other podcast that I have, Business Growth Spotlight. So if you haven't checked that podcast out, make sure you do and listen to her there, because if you do have a business, she shares with you in that conversation what she's been through, how she's grown over the years, and what she's faced in the business side of things. Today, we're going to talk more about her, which I'm excited because she's a pretty amazing woman. So without further ado, welcome Sheree Behrndt to the S.H.E podcast.
Thank you for having me again.
Absolutely. So we chatted before. I feel like I know you really, really well now with everything we've talked about behind the scenes and talking on the Business Growth Spotlight podcast. So can you share with everybody here a little bit about yourself so they can get to know you a little bit?
Sure. I was born and raised in a little country town in St. Genevieve, Missouri. So it's good that now I have the city vibe, but yet I still have that country in me. When I was in high school, was in a really bad rollover car accident. I spent several years, plastic surgery, 16 to 18 years old, every few months going back for more on my face. And it was during that time, because I had to be in therapy, that I thought, I want to be a therapist someday. So I do feel that story is important because that's really where I started my passion for wanting to be a therapist. So I went away to college and then got my degree, married, and then started my company in 2000. I have two brothers, an older and a younger. I have two sons. I just found out I'm going to have a granddaughter in September.
Oh.
So I'm like, what did we do with girls? And yeah, life is really good. I now live on my own. I wasn't, but I left a relationship. So now I'm living on my own, focusing everything I have back into the business. Yeah, that's pretty much who I am.
Well, congratulations on your baby granddaughter coming.
You,
That's
so
super exciting. A
exciting.
whole new chapter
Yes,
is here. You get to spoil. Now you get to
I
spoil.
know. I know. I cannot wait.
So fun. I know if when I become a grandma, if it's a girl, I'm going to be just out buying dresses before she ever gets here. So I can only imagine you're like, chomping at the bit to go shopping. I know I
Oh, I
would.
already have. Every time I see my son and daughter-in-law, we had dinner last night. I had two more outfits. So it's
Oh,
like
so
and
cute.
now today I just saw that there's one out for delivery. So it seems like I'm just like, don't change your name because I keep getting things with her name on them.
Very, very cute. Well, tell us a little bit about your business and what kind of therapy you do. Like, let's talk about that a little bit before we dive into more of you and your challenges.
When I first got out of college, I did not want pediatrics. I wanted only adult. So I did that for 7 years and then kind of fell into the pediatric realm. I loved it and was so passionate about it that I started Sensory Solutions. It is a pediatric therapy company. It'll be 26 years on April 1st.
Wow,
So
congratulations.
thank you. We provide occupational, physical, and speech therapy, some dietetic just to children who have developmental delays. Really, our specialty is sensory integration and sensory defensiveness, as well as working with children that do not eat. So
So
now
20,
it's
go ahead.
no, now it's at four clinics in Missouri and two in Kentucky. So it's grown rapidly.
Yeah. And I know on the other podcast, we talked to you about ups and downs. There were cycles there, some challenges. 26 years ago, you started. So I can imagine there's been a lot of ups and downs in that process. So, what were some of the challenges you faced when, like, were you like, yes, let's do this. I've got this. I know what I'm doing. Or did you have some fear along the way that was like,
I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what I was doing. I just felt something, and I was never that person. I don't like the spotlight. I am terrified of public speaking. Why I ever thought I wanted to own my own business and be in management and run a business, I don't know where that came from because that's really not who I think I am. And it really just happened. And I'm a therapist, so I did a lot of things wrong, and I fell on my face many times. Just when I thought that maybe I made it, I would fall again. So yeah, if it was easy, everybody would do it. It's challenging. And even
yeah,
though you're going to have great years, it doesn't mean you're going to always have great years. So yes, live, I still have anxiety, I still have fears. I try to overcome those, but I think it just goes along with owning your own business and I'm responsible for 75 employees.
mm,
So I have
75.
to show, yeah, so I have to show up. I can't just sit around and not provide for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned the challenges and the fear. What has kept you? What is it that's pushed you to keep going? Because a lot of people would just when those challenges come up, like you said, you've were successful and then you've had hard times. What was it, do you think, that kept you or like, you know what, I've got to push through? Because a lot of people just close doors and go, okay, this isn't working. I'm moving on. You didn't do that.
I did not do that, but maybe the fear of not knowing how to close it, maybe the fear of feeling like I failed. That I just kept going.
Mm,
And there was a point where I was asking my employees to space out their paychecks. Like you can't deposit your check. You're going to have to space them out. And I had a calendar that would show like Mondays, these two could do it, Tuesdays. And it was like I had it spaced out because I could not afford for them all to hit payroll like on one day.
mm,
So I was doing that. I was that poor lady at the grocery store trying this card and that card and this card because now I'm divorced and I have two sons that I'm really the only one financially responsible for. So I was that woman who credit cards were just so maxed out. And at one point in my life, maxed out to a total of $75,000. And I had no idea how I was ever going to pay them off. But something inside of me just said, keep going. And I did. I did not file bankruptcy. I will never forget the last check I wrote for my credit card was I thought, okay, I need 3,000 more dollars. Where can I get that real quick? I'm going to sell my wedding ring. And I did. And I wrote that last check when I sold that at a pawn store. And it was just, I just felt so proud that I did it. And that was company debt and personal. And like I said before, there were years where I qualified for Medicaid, but I just didn't stop.
yeah.
And I still believe you've had two really rough years that I just made it through. And I am on top of the world right now. I know I'm turning it this year.
Yeah. You have a plan, you have a goal, you have a vision, and you're
Yes.
gung ho ahead. So, what would you say to somebody that's listening? Because we are having a lot of people are having a lot of challenges right now financially. AI is here, it's evolving and growing. We're going to see a big shift in jobs that are going to be taken away with AI. I believe that some jobs will be taken away, and if we don't think that, I kind of think we're naive. I'm not saying all of them will, but at the same time, what would you say to those people who are sitting in it right now going, I'm where she was. My debt is really piled high. I don't know how I'm keeping the lights on next month, or I don't know how I'm making the next mortgage payment, or I don't know how I'm making the next credit card payment. What would you say to them? Like, what's one step they could take today to to move forward?
I just say, just don't give up. Just don't. If you need to cut back your spending, whatever it might be, just don't give up. Now I'm a service industry, so AI does not impact me
Mhm.
or my business. However, I say that if you're in a service industry, just know that at the end you gave it everything you had. And not
Mhm.
everybody makes it. Who says that I'm going to make it? I don't have a crystal ball. I would hope, but you never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah. Putting one foot in front of the other day after day, right? And just moving forward. We talked about your business and how you got started there. And we talked about some of your fears. I'm curious because we talked on the other podcast. You had mentioned to me before we hit record that it was your first podcast and that you were very nervous. And I don't know if you've recorded any podcasts between then and now. So this could be your second, or it could be 4 or 5 by now. I That's why I wanted to have you on the show, because this show is called Be She, which stands for Be Seen, Be Heard, Be Empowered. Overcoming the fear of being seen, being heard, standing for yourself, not playing small, playing the big game, making sure that you are stepping through into your fears and moving through them to create a bigger life, a bigger relationship, a business that you have a vision for. What was it like? You've moved through it. You did the first podcast. And so, can you share with us a little bit about how you were feeling, how you felt afterward, and have you had any of those kind of feelings come up since then in regards to stepping through another fear?
One of my things I did say this year as I was setting some goals is I'm going to do at least 4 podcast interviews because I do get asked to do them. And before I was too scared. I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. I will admit that I needed a shower after the first one because that's how bad I was sweating.
Oh, you did great.
Sweating
You were great.
so bad. And this one, I feel better because I know you. I agreed to do one this Friday. I don't know them.
Yay.
So yeah, and that topic's I think it's going to be a little challenging. Yeah, that's 3. I only need one more, and then my goal has been achieved.
Yeah. And then you just get to keep going. You get to crush that goal. And now maybe the goal is 4 a quarter versus 4 for the year, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's a great way to grow too. So for any of you all listening, if you're not podcast guesting on podcasts and you have a business or you have a mission, you're mission driven, and there's a message on your heart that you want to get out and support others in some way, podcast guesting is a great way to do it because one, it's free unless you're on a paid podcast, but many times it's free. Second of all, you're leveraging both platforms. So you're leveraging your platforms for the social media. You're showing up in a bigger way. Your audience is built, you're building faster credibility with your audience. And 2, you're leveraging the podcast host platform. So not only the podcast itself, but also their social media platform, because chances are they're promoting it. And it's a great way to get in front of an audience that you may never have been able to get in front of otherwise by utilizing the host's platform and their audience. So if you're not doing it, I encourage you to do it. Cherie's done it. She's crushed it. She's doing awesome. And she's moving through a fear that she had. And anytime you're moving through a fear, I believe no matter what that is, doors are going to open in other areas because you are moving through it. You're stepping out of that little box that we can stay comfortable inside of, and you're putting a toe out, and you can make you sweat. You might need a few showers, but you're going to feel more confident doing other things, and many more doors are going to open. So, Cherie, you don't even know who else is going to see you by doing this and by stepping out of your
And
comfort
I agree. I've always liked to stay in my comfort zone, and therefore I've been on a merry-go-round. I've not had a lot of growth. I've just been spinning, and I've had a really rough last 5 years of my life. I would like to share that because I feel it's important.
zone.
So 5 years, well, actually 7 years ago, I met a man. When I was raising my sons, I really didn't date a lot. I divorced in '04. So I was a single mom raising sons, not being able to use my credit cards, trying to keep a business alive. And it was very, very busy time for me. So my youngest left and went to college in 2016. In 2018, I met a man. Why I didn't see the red flags and why I don't know. I'm going to blame it on COVID brain. I just like to do that. But dated, I saw some things that I knew weren't right, but decided in 2020 to buy a house together.
Mm-hmm.
So He asked me, what portion do you want to be? And I said, I want to be 50%. And he said, there's no way. And I said, there is way. I'm going to be 50%. And so we bought it. We bought the house. The first weekend in the house, he was extremely physical with me. And I'm just throwing it out there. I had just sold the home that was so dear to me that I raised my sons in by myself. I was terrified. I remember thinking, I'm 50 something years old. How is this happening to me? No one's ever done this to me.
Mm.
And I was scared. I stayed in fear. I stayed in fear, but I knew at that moment and looking back that I really lost myself that weekend. Because I did stay and I knew I was a strong woman, but in this sense, I was so weak. And I stayed and I continued with more verbal, emotional, just it was a rough time, but I didn't know how to leave because at the end of the day, I was intimidated by him. And so my dad was my very best friend, and he suddenly passed away of a heart attack and never had any cardiac issues in 2022. I was doing this at this time, I'm really stepping away from sensory solutions. I'm running the business, but I'm no longer going to the business. I'm no longer seeing patients, which is my purpose and my drive. I'm just starting to become more and more isolated inside this home I was living in. I
Mm.
used to be the woman who was constantly on the go, out with girlfriends, happy hours, going shopping. I was just go, go, go. And by the time I left that relationship, I was pretty much getting maybe 400 steps a day, walking from my office, we both worked from home, my office to grab a glass of wine, to not be very active at all. So I get through my dad's situation, and then in the company, I think, oh my God, it's doing great. They don't need me because in 2022 and 2023, I had the best years I ever had. And at the end of 2023, I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Mm.
I chose a double mastectomy and had to go through. They told me the day they said, you have cancer. I was there alone because I was just like, so I got called back after a mammogram. So what? That happens to me on occasion. So I just went, not realizing till I walked in the door that it was very different this time. And they told me, they said, be prepared for the toughest year of your life.
Wow.
So I stayed. I again stayed. And I got through that. 2023, around the same time, was when I had 9 employees leave. And that's a lot. And they left right before my really busy time. So I didn't make the money in the summer months, which gets me through the slow months. And it just started spiraling and it just was getting worse and worse and snowballing. Finally, there was another physical incident the end of 2024. My son was getting married, and again, I did leave for 2 weeks, but I stayed knowing that it wasn't long before I was finally going to be brave and get out. And that happened March of 2025. He was out of town. There was something else that had occurred, and my daughter-in-law, who lives in Oregon, she was in town to witness it. And we had a long conversation, and she said, Cherie, listen to yourself. I mean, I'm the adult. She's the child. And she says, listen to yourself. You're done. You need to go. And while he was out of town, I signed a lease. I came back to the area in St. Louis where I raised my sons. I've never lived in this part of town, but I was renting, which I hadn't rented since I was in college. But so what? The 9 months that I rented, I feel that my growth personally was more in those 9 months than it's been in all my life.
Wow.
And I got over here and we ended up selling the house. I always made fun of one of my girlfriends because she does all this woo-woo stuff, I call it, this spiritual stuff. But when I got here, I kept saying, God, I'm going to sell the company. I'm going to sell it. Like, it's not doing well. I'm so over it. I have no purpose. Like, what is my purpose going to be in my life? Because I just don't know what it is anymore. And it's a scary feeling to not know. And I was going to go to this course in Sedona, and it was very pricey. And my girlfriend, who's had a lot of this training, her and her husband, she said, why don't you just go to a couple things here in St. Louis? They're so much less expensive. I think you're really overpaying for what they want you to do. And it was a week long find your purpose. And I'm like, all right. And I said, well, I already booked the Airbnb, my flights. Would you and your husband want to go to Sedona with me? And let's just get a little taste of what y'all do. And this friend, like we met when we were 4 years old. So we have been lifelong. Like she's a sister I never had.
Mhm.
And she said, that's fine. But before we go, I need you to do two things. She said, I want you to talk to this woman. She lives in the state of Washington. And you're going to do a Zoom with her, but she's a psychic, almost like a medium, actually. And she said, I want you to do that. And before we go out there, I want your chakras. I want everything clear so that you can get more benefit while we're there. So I'm like, all right, I have no idea what I'm doing, but okay, I'll do it, Tammy. So I do. And I make the appointment with the lady, the Zoom, and I literally was watching my bottom right, and I kept looking at the clock thinking, please slow down, please slow down. It was so interesting because she was talking to spiritual guides. She's like, you're born with them, you die with them, you have guides, they lead you through your life, and they're always with you. And I'm just kind of like, she would look off in the distance and she'd be like listening to them, and then she'd come back and say something. And she said, she goes, well, the first thing they want to talk about is your relationship that you just left. Your relationship, what they're telling me is you it was volatile. You walked on eggshells just to keep the peace. You were not in a good spot, and you lost yourself to the point that when you left, you didn't even recognize yourself in the mirror. And I was like, wow. Then she went on and she talked about my business and my purpose. And she said, your business is going to be fine. It truly is. But when you started Sensory Solutions, you were here. You were right up here. You had the energy, you had the focus, you were here. You're here now. Your company cannot make it. It's such an extension of you. It's such an important part of you. I call it my third child.
Mhm.
She said, but if it's here and you're here, it's going to meet you right where you are because that's such an extension of you. And she said, your purpose is right here. It is your business. I don't know if you'll figure that out or what, but it really opened my eyes how in those 5 years, how far I truly was gone. And I
Mm.
was so disengaged. I was not putting anything into sensory solutions. And therefore, I wasn't putting it into me, and the company was doing horrible because of that. It needs me. We need each other. So she went on to tell me another few things, and I was just blown away how accurate. And the woman, she knew my first name. Like, it's not like she knew me to Google me or anything. It blew me away. So
Yeah.
I get off that call, and then I did go, and I had my, like, the card reading and everything. And when we got to Sedona, we were sitting there and we ran into some women, and they said, oh, our friends are across the street getting their aura read. And they were like, we didn't go because we figured we would just have a black ring around us. So we decided to get some drinks instead. So then Tammy looks at me and she goes, I've never done it. Let's go do it. So I went first, and the lady said, oh my goodness, like all this, I think maybe it was red or I don't know the color. You have got the most healing hands. Your hands, I don't know what you do with them, but if you don't, you need to because your hands are so incredibly healing. She said, so if you're in the medical field, if you're not, if you want to give massages, whatever it is, you need to be using your hands. So that was kind of like ding ding. The next couple days we were started one day we decided we were just going to go on this tour. And we're on the tour and I started talking to the couple next to me, and they start telling me how when their child was 2, he went to Sensory Solutions. So here I am in Sedona, and this
Ah.
couple next to me, I didn't even know they were from St. Louis. I had no idea. We treated their son, and they were talking about what a wonderful job we did and how much he was eating. He went there, he wasn't talking. They were just bragging on how much we helped them. So that was really number 2. And then number three, the day before we left, I received a video from a parent that I worked with her son for feeding when he was two, probably till 6 years old. And it was a video of him. And I hadn't heard from him in years. And it was so touching. So I left Sedona and was I found my purpose again. Like I lost me, but I found me again and I found my purpose. I'm going to the office now. I am so involved. I'm doing this, which I never would have done. I'm going back out. I have probably not gone back or haven't gone out to visit doctors. Like where our referrals are pediatricians. It's
Mm.
been probably 10 years.
Wow.
I'm out there now, and I'm out there, and that's something else that's not my comfort zone. You
Yeah.
never know what they're gonna, their attitude, and this is my baby. So yes, I am really pushing myself outside my comfort zone. I know that I have the tools this year. I have the staff. I'm just waiting for it to boom because I know it's going to because Sensory Solutions has Cherie again, and Cherie has Sensory Solutions. And I can't believe when I was that down, I don't even know if it was depression. I never really felt depressed, that almost sold one of the most important
Mm.
in life
Yeah.
because I was so disengaged. And now my passion, I'm actually going back in and treating patients. I was supposed to have one this afternoon. They had to cancel, but I'm going back in, I'm mentoring, I'm in the offices, and I'm alive again. I feel so good, so alive. I'm pushing myself in so many different directions. And every day I wake up and I go down to my study and I do some meditation, which I never would have done. I have my devotionals, I have my books, I have my woo woo, and it's the first usually 20 minutes of my day. I used to sleep late. I slept pretty much my life away. And now I love getting up about 6 a.m. and I start my day and I'm doing Pilates 7 days a week. I wasn't exercising. I wasn't taking care of myself. And I really have changed who I am. And I'm so excited for the future because I'm different. I'm different than who I was. And I'm not afraid anymore. I'm not afraid of what fears I had in the past. If it's public speaking, yes, it's not my thing, but I'm not going to let it hold me back anymore.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just feel like my growth has been so much and I've just begun. And everything I have, I'm going to pour into sensory because I did not for 7 years, but I'm ready.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing and being open and vulnerable with us, your journey. I know that it's not always easy to share those details about ourselves or what we've gone through. Like you, and you had shared with us that, you were in your 50s and you're like, how is this happening to me now? Like, we're not doing the 20-year-old game where we can meet these people and we don't, kind of like trusting everybody. But I
Mhm.
think it's powerful that you share that because there's so many of us in this stage of life that we are still trusting. We still believe people at face value. But you did also share something really powerful, which is I saw the signs. There were signs. And I didn't listen to myself. Like you didn't, and I want to share that not as you doing anything wrong. It's for those of you listening to Cherie and her story and her journey, you may be having those feelings. You may see that something is off or feel that something's off. And you don't have to react right away to go, oh no, that's the can't be, must be wrong. But just be aware of it. And then, try to dig deeper on why are you getting these feelings? Why are you feeling like something's off and not right? Because it could be your signal that, what, I need to step away from this person, or I need to step away from this place that I'm in with my job or this relationship, or maybe the relationships or the people that you are associating yourself with, right? Surrounding yourself with the right people is really, really key and important. And isolation is part of what keeps you from getting that form of energy from the people that are really could be highly supportive for you. So isolation can be, and I know working at home, there's times I feel highly isolated because it's easy to just sit here and be focused on the computer and what we're doing versus getting out. And I'm so glad that you're getting out, visiting those doctors, building your business up again, involved in there, doing what's really your gift. And you also shared that you stepped out of your comfort zone. You were like, this is woo woo. I don't really not, this is kind of weird for me. But you're like, you know what? What do I have to lose? Right. You were
That's
going, you
exactly what
took
I
a
said.
leap. Yeah, you took a leap and you're like, what do I have to lose? And that was able to reignite you and reconnect you to your passion and reaffirm to you that this is really what you're meant to be doing. And I want to say, like, I'm so happy to hear that you were in your passion early on, which is a true blessing, because I know there's a lot of people out there that are still trying to figure out what their purpose is. And going back to what you shared at the beginning of our conversation is that you were in a rollover car accident when you were in your teens and went through multiple surgeries. And but and not but and that was showing you like, wow, I really want to be a therapist, so there's ways of thinking about things that we could go, okay, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening? Like, why are all these things happening to me versus why is this happening for me? Now, we don't wish a rollover car accident and multiple surgeries on anybody. And it's just a matter of shifting the perspective of going, okay, why? What is this here to teach me? What is this here to guide me toward that may not have opened that door for you had that not happened?
Am 100% in agreement with you. And my external scars, my internal scars, I would not remove a single one of them because every single one of those challenges in my life have made me such a stronger woman. I would never go back in time and take away that first weekend. Everything that happened to me in my life, I feel, looking back, was teaching me a lesson. Life to me is all about lessons. And I wouldn't take one thing back. I would want the exact life that I have lived in the exact same order. And it has opened different doors for me. It's made me just such a stronger, independent woman.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And your granddaughter is going to benefit greatly from all the lessons you've learned and the powerful woman that you are. So I'm excited for her and the legacy that you're leaving to her and creating for her as well. Yeah, it's awesome. So
Thank you so much.
yeah, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your journey. You mentioned feeding program. You mentioned that you support children. So tell us a little bit about that and the program that you have in regards to because there's a lot of children. I didn't know this before I spoke with you on the last podcast that a lot of young children have infants to toddlers have trouble with eating and that could be related to sensory issues. And so it's really, and not a lot of parents know where to go to get support on that.
Right, right. There's only a few places in the States that do provide intensive therapy.
Mm.
And so many parents are faced with the fact that, oh, wow, my child's 10 months old and I can't get them to do any solids. They're gagging, they're throwing up, which then causes more anxiety for the parents, for the baby, to the point where they could be 2 years old and still on baby food purees.
Right.
So there are so many out there, and what a helpless feeling as a parent. As parents, it's one thing if your child can't say they're ours. It's one thing if your child has delay in walking. But when your child cannot eat, they're not going to develop in any other area. And it is such a scary place for parents to be. And I want them to know that this is my passion. This is what we do. We're occupational speech therapists. We have feeding teams. We do 10 feeding evaluations as a team a week. And it's really it's our niche. We love it so much. And we help so many families who come in and they're terrified. And they hear from doctors sometimes, or they hear from their grandpa, just let it go. He'll be okay. He'll turn out fine. It'll all work out. Well, it doesn't. Not when you're talking this sort of severe feeding disorder. When it is sensory involved and there's anxiety now with it, it doesn't go away. It only gets worse. So knowing that there is a place, even if it's just to email me and run something by me, feel free to do that. And I do know other areas, in the States. It can be an intensive therapy program if you travel to St. Louis, where I am, stay a month in an Airbnb and bring your child 3 meals a day. But sometimes it's that intensity that it takes to get your child to where you need to be.
Yeah. And just because something's not understood doesn't mean it's not real. So
Oh,
our parents, our grandparents, it was a different time and a lot of different things happening. So if I love how, we can all want to give our opinion, but unless you've been through this, unless they've been through something like this themselves, if you're going through something, whether it's with you or your children, and you're like, I know there's something off, I know there's something wrong, keep looking, keep going. Don't give up. That is the theme of this episode, between Cherie sharing her journey of coming back and forth with her business through the ups and downs. She didn't give up. So there's so many gold nuggets here. I'm probably going to just touch on a few that I want to make sure that some of my takeaways. And if you have other takeaways, if you're watching us on YouTube, we'd love to hear what your takeaways are from this. The takeaways that I have is don't give up, keep going. If you really want this, keep fighting for it, right? There's always an answer as long as you're willing to go find it. And there's always a solution. Find your purpose and your passion. It's in you. If you don't know what it is, it's in you. You may have to go to different people to find out what it is. You may need to be re-inspired or reignited. And many times what we've been through leads us to what we're meant to be doing and where we're supposed to be. There's so many good ones. Listen to that inner voice. When you see the flag, see if it's green, see if it's yellow, see if it's red. There are flags out there with everything we're doing. Take a temperature check and see what you're feeling and what your gut is saying, and listen to it. Doesn't mean you have to react immediately, but at least make note of it and listen to it, because you have the knowledge inside of you. Many times we can just push it off and go, I don't know that that's true. Or sometimes we can't trust ourselves, right? We just feel like, I'm wrong. I've been wrong in so many things, that red flag I'm seeing, or that feeling that I'm having, must be off. When in actuality, if we had listened to them more often along our journey, we may have taken different roads. At the same time, the roads that we're taking, know you're in the right place. You're in the right place of where you're supposed to be right now. So Cherie, this has been powerful for me.
if you want it, dream it. If you want it,
Yeah.
dream it, and visualize it. Sit down and take 30 minutes and write. If it's 3 years from now, if it's 2029, this is my dream life, and you build upon it and you visualize it over and over and over, and it will happen.
Yeah.
But you have to have the dream.
Yeah. Be willing to do things that may feel uncomfortable, or you may not feel are believable. Like, just because it's unknown doesn't mean it's not real, right? So just because you may not, like, Cherie stepped into the woo-woo, quote unquote woo-woo, that she thought was woo-woo. And it really gave her a lot of support and a lot of like reaffirmation that I am in the right place. And had she not done that, stepped out of her comfort zone and done that, and I'm not saying that's right for everybody, but if you just try something new, try something uncomfortable, if you're building a business and you are nervous around groups, try starting with small networking events. Get out of your space and into the world, and you'll be amazed at what doors open. Anything that you can do each day that dips your toe out of that box we're sitting in, that comfort zone, is going to open new doors for you. And you never know who's going to be there to support you, or what answers you might get, just like Cherie did. So Cherie, thank you so much. Oh, if y'all are watching us on YouTube, thank you. Appreciative that you're here. Leave a note for Cherie below and let her know you were here. And we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button so we can let you know when we have more amazing women on this podcast, as Cherie is here today. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, I'm super grateful. Thank you so much. If you are inclined to leave us a review, we would love 5 stars, because that helps the podcast platforms push this episode with Cherie, as well as the podcast, out to more women, out to more people who could benefit from hearing from Cherie's journey and her story. If you know of somebody that could benefit from hearing of Cherie, if you have a friend, a family member, a loved one, your neighbor, anybody that you know, maybe yourself, maybe you need to replay this again to hear some, to rehear some things, or hear some new things that you may not have heard the first time. Please share this. I love how these women are really, and Cherie is stepping out of her comfort zone by being on this podcast. This is not in her wheelhouse. Visibility is new to her. Doing this she had fear behind it, and she did it anyway. So if you know of somebody that's going through something like that, please share this episode and Cherie with them. And Cherie, how can we connect with you? How can the women listening connect with you, or even the men, if there's men listening, connect with you and reach out?
Email is the best, and it's Sheree, Sheree, at sensorysolutions.org. You can
Thank you.
also
So
go on the website, and also you can leave a comment there. They come directly to me.
perfect. And if you know of anybody that's going through that has a child and they're not sure what's happening, have them connect with Cherie. She'll be there to happy to answer any questions. One thing that she mentioned when we had our last conversation on the last podcast, which I was really impressed with, is she's adamant with her team that if you're in the state, obviously, if you're in her area, if not, she'll try to support you in other ways. But if you're in her area and you need an appointment with her, you said you are adamant about they get to get in with this window because they need quick answers.
So I would
Yeah.
like it to be this week if possible.
Yeah. And I love that. I think I'm sure that makes you different than many out there. And I love how you're so caring and loving with your patients, and you have a ton of testimonials, and you still get letters from the kids when they become teenagers and they're going off to college. And I love that. We didn't dive into that today, but I remember you telling me that. So Cherie, my last question for you is, if you could have lunch with anybody, alive or deceased, who would it be and why?
Oprah.
Ah,
I
why?
love Oprah. I think she is such a powerful female. I just love her strength, her power, her knowledge, and I would love to pick her brain.
Mm, great answer. Love that. Thank you so much. Thank you all for listening. All of Cherie's contact information, social media, website, her email address will be in the show notes. So if you missed any of that when we were talking, when she was sharing it, don't worry, we got you. Cherie, is there anything else that you'd like to share or say before I let you go?
No, just once again, follow your dream. Don't give up. Try to look at the positive and focus on that, because there's always going to be negative, no matter if it's life, if it's your journey, if it's your business. Really try to run with the positive.
I love that so much. It's the perfect way to end. So thank you so much, Cherie, for being here. Thank you all for listening to Cherie and I. Make sure you go connect with her. She's pretty spectacular, as you've heard her today. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the S.H.E podcast. In the meantime, be empowered to be seen and heard.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this week on S.H.E. If you've enjoyed what you're hearing, you can subscribe to the show so you'll never miss a thing. And while you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating and review. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. Be sure to tune in next week for our next episode. And in the meantime, go shine your light and be seen, be heard, and be empowered.